Good. So we are nearing the end of the day here in Baku. This was our first show here from COP29, and will probably be the shortest because after tomorrow we really crank up the day with a lot more content. But it's been great to be here. It's been great to be with Ingmar, of course, CEO and founder of We Don't Have Time. And also we have a special guest with us, and that's Carl Eneroth, a documentary filmmaker with a broad background in sustainability. And we'll come to Carl in a minute, but first, Ingmar, any reflections on the day?
I mean, it's hard to experience COP when you are working on COP. But we have actually a cube in the media zone where we're doing all the preparation work for those broadcasts, and we can follow what's going on in the plenary, etc. And I heard the opening speech from the COP presidency, where he was really mad about fake news media portraying Azerbaijan a way he didn't agree on. It was kind of interesting. I will say we need more news, and we need to get the stories out there. I don't really know if he was right or wrong, but I think that what we do here to bring out the facts, that is so important to do, and it's easy to have an opinion about COP if you're not here.
So what I worry about sometimes, we'll come in a second, Carl, to you, but what I worry sometimes is that some of the powerful, maybe you might say more Western media, sometimes has a certain vision of what a country is like and the people who in it are like and what they think and what their values are without really knowing them. And I'm not trying to say this to say that Azerbaijan is not an oil and gas industry country, and we know that we need to do something very serious about oil and gas in this world if we're going to deal with climate change. But I mean, we had a chap here from the Azerbaijani government earlier in the show. We talked to him. I know the people that invited him on to our show. They're good people from the UN. I mean, now we've heard from him, and he has heard a little bit from us. And maybe there's a way of forming relationships, because the whole UN conferences are about trying to form relationships with people from other countries in the hope and belief that you can move these people into different spaces to what they were possibly in before, right? So it's about relationships building. So again, I'm not trying to greenwash any of this, but I think it's nice to meet people from this country who are working in the government, who give their voice and their perspective to a global audience, and let's see what that means.
Yeah,
right?
I totally agree. And sometimes criticisms are very well deserved, but I do believe that in order to criticize the host of COP, you need to be here.
Yeah.
It's you can't really know how things are working if you're not here. I'm not saying if Azerbaijan will be a good host or bad host. That is to be seen. But I do say that by coming here to Azerbaijan, I get my personal view on this country has changed. Things are so far quite well organized, at least.
And the people are very nice.
Yes.
Carl, great to see you. You're doing some work here for We Don't Have Time as a photojournalist and video journalist. You have a long career in this. Just briefly, first, what have you been up to today? What did you see? What did you think? What was it like?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to just walk around 2 hours on the site. And there are other people's their story. So I've been searching for the stories and just sort of stopping them and going with my camera, taking a photograph, and then try to sort of pick up what they're at and what they're doing. There's so much competent people around, and I really like your idea here that it's all about relations in one sense, and just negotiating my own assumptions about a country or a person, and feel that just by listening and arguing a bit, you will see that, well, we have a lot of common here, and maybe a bit of similarities and dissimilarities, but it's really about it's a really good opportunity to meet a lot of people from all over the world at the same time.
So I think maybe I kind of just step back and rephrase it. It is about relationships. It always has been, and it always will be in the history of the world. Governments come with many of the big governments come with very clear things they want, But there's always room in between what everyone's told they have to do, and there's always a bit of wiggle room if you have a good relationship with another government or another country or whatever, to actually raise your ambition a little bit within the cracks between the official, capital city dictator, this is what you're going to do at this COP, this is what we want in our own national sovereignty. The negotiators have this wiggle room there to make something better out of something that could be worse. And I think that's what goes on in these COPs, yeah.
But it is also an arena, I think. It's not so often that you're licensed to talk to someone. Because in a city, people are in a hurry, they're doing different things. But here, people are just here to listen and learn. And there is a great opportunity to actually try and meet other people who are just waiting for a contact, a memorable moment, and telling the passion.
And as well, there are a new generation of negotiators from governments that never experience what it is to work as a COP. There's a new generation of young people coming through. There's a new generation of private sector people. There's people coming all the time who have never been to a COP. And that is either a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But it does mean that they have to be informed, again, what this whole thing is about, and is it of value as well. Sorry, Ingmar, go.
No, I think we also need to say what we're not talking about. This is maybe the last COP with United States in the room.
Well, that's also true.
And one thing I'm kind of confident on, it will not be the world's loss, it will be the United States loss, because I don't think the other parties in this room will leave this if US will leave the Paris Agreement again. I mean, come on. That's a bad decision, and I believe that maybe it will help us unite even more, because leaving the party will not solve the climate crisis, and that's bad even for Donald Trump.
Well, mentioning the USA and Donald Trump, I saw you'd made some video of an interview with a lady in the Ukraine pavilion. I saw a snippet of that, and it was very moving. The pavilion itself was incredibly designed as well. Tell us about that encounter.
Well, that encounter really made me cry, actually, because it's so close to us in Sweden, and the history and the sort of military aggression. So seeing this, I would say small, it was sort of tiny, but so full of power. And her husband was involved in the front, and she was doing this for the climate as an idea, and still in this environment where it's so brutal, the war, there's still hope. They're still working with these issues. So it's really at the, I think, would say, sort of epicenter of the sort of vulnerable democracy we have, and they're really fighting for it, and they need all the support they can get. And on top of that, there's sort of brilliant, smart, very strong people. And I think also the climate. Another thing that touched me is really that many of these people I met have a personal connection to climate. I talked to a person from Australia, which is not in the film, and he has friends, relatives, and lived in an area which has totally been devastated. So it's not just an idea, something you see on television. It is his family, his friends that are actually influenced or by these wildfires and droughts and floodings. So it's really creeping up. It's not a sort of abstract idea that we can have or have not. It's about our people's lives. It's about sort of survival. And I think that is also something that come across. And if you have the time and just sort of stand and talk to anyone here, there will be a story somewhere that is related to this issue. And I find that both moving and inspiring, and that gives me energy.
It's interesting that humans are really quite extraordinary. There's not many that can actually say, I know this big issue is coming, and therefore we should act in a precautionary way, right, against something terrible that will come in the future. It's amazing how we almost have to completely destroy the edifice and the beauty and everything before we all wake up and go, my God, we better do something right now, which is probably then too late, right? But I mean, how many COPs have you been to now?
5, I think.
5. And does your Do you change as you go each time? Do you become a different person after being here or being part
Yes,
of it?
I will say I grow much older because of the intense work schedule. It's not much sleep or food.
Now you know why I look like an old man, yeah?
Exactly. You have been to, how many COP have you been to?
Don't ask. Don't ask.
Almost all, right?
Almost all, yeah.
No, I will say that it's so important that we meet and talk and understand each other. Otherwise, I think it's very hard to cooperate. So COP are important, but it's not the only thing. It's just one thing we need in order to get things happening faster.
Carl, yeah?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on that, and apart from the sort of passionate personal stories, I think what dawned upon me when talking to these people was the conflict of interests. So people are navigating a conflict of interest in their own profession, as we are too, sort of flying here, making it worthwhile to be in Azerbaijan. So learning how to do that only in dialogue with others is a skill that we need to be better at. And I'd like to sort of improve on that also, conflict of interests.
So we're at really just the very beginning of this COP, this Conference of the Parties here in Azerbaijan. But I was noticing there have been some interesting announcements. I know that we can't talk about them all, but so in Glasgow, in COP26, so 3 COPs ago, the governments gave the green light to a new generation of what they call voluntary carbon markets. So that could be investing in trees and paying people with lower incomes in Latin America to maintain their tree with carbon credits, whatever. They've always been a bit controversial, but they gave the go-ahead now. Then there was some questions that still were standing out that didn't mean they could go forward, but then everything I think was agreed at the beginning of this week. So carbon markets are here and they are available, so let's see what the world makes of how they use those. But now, this is now like a proud British person standing here, and I'm not doing that because I'm doing it because it's a good standout number. So the UK Prime Minister was here and they've set a target for an over 80% emission reduction, which in their new National Climate Action Plan, their so-called NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution, and I think that is the front runner right now. So I think that's good news to hear that, you know, this government is prepared to take its responsibilities seriously and has gone way out, and I think it has a chance to meet them. So that's a pretty good target, right? 80% plus 80% emission reduction. Any thoughts?
I think it's obvious because UK lost COP. We had another government in UK doing more what Donald Trump is maybe trying to do. It didn't last. I mean, that government failed before the period was over. So we're up for a ride with Donald Trump, but it will not last.
Well, I remember being in Marrakesh in Morocco in 2017, the year after the Paris Agreement was done. I was still working for the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and that was the year where Donald Trump got elected first time round. And I can tell you, that place was in shock, and it was almost silent. You couldn't hear a pin drop, you could hear whispering everywhere. And no governments wanted to give any interviews to media, nothing. It's very different at this COP.
Yeah.
It's almost like the
Who
world
cares?
has just brushed it aside and
going.
said, we keep going.
Yeah.
We're over 190 nations in the
Yeah.
world, and whatever we do will pull all ships up, no matter if they want to sink themselves.
It's also that the government haven't changed yet. So we
No.
actually have the US government on our show tomorrow. So that will be interesting to see what they are going to talk about and what they're going to do now the last months they are in power.
Yes, but you know, the world is a different world. America is still very important, obviously, but we live in a world where China is also very important in what they do. There are other countries like Brazil who are now very important, India, Vietnam. You can list a long number of countries out there that have the political power, the growth, and also the vision of moving on climate change.
One observation I've made coming here, it's not many electric cars, but actually a lot of taxi cars are electric, and I haven't seen a single Tesla. I haven't seen a single European manufactured electric car. They are all Chinese. So there's a big debate there. Is it really a good thing to put a tariff on electric cars in Europe and US? I don't think so, because I think that we will get behind. I mean, we're not slowing down competition by, don't catch up and put a tariff on everything. We are winning competition by being better, not increasing tariffs. So my prediction is that in the future, I think that most cars here will be Chinese and electric.
So I just want to say to the viewers out there, you're listening to us chatting here at the end at the wrap-up, and we're going to have to end literally in a minute or so, but just to say, if you think anything you've heard on the show today, or anything that you've heard in conversation here between Carl, Ingmar and myself, and maybe you have a difference of opinion, that's fine. Share your ideas on We Don't Have Time social media, or we don't have time.org. Log into that and you can take part in the conversation. That would be really super, and that's great. Carl, I'm going to give you the last word because you're our special guest right now. Are there any things already percolating in your creative head about things you want to cover in the next few days for the We Don't Have Time shows?
Yeah, no, I'm in the search for not only good stories, but stories that unite us. And I think there are so many here and so many brilliant people who I'm looking forward to meet. So I'm really hopeful.
That's super. I think we're there, Ingmar. Is there anything I'm missing?
Yeah, I think you're missing the whole point here. Carl has been running around COP and made a short film about it. So I think we're going to watch that.
Okay, we're going to watch the short film. I always miss something. I'm glad I've got you here, Ingmar. So let's roll Carl's short film from COP29, and we're very excited to see this, Carl.
In tough times, up against difficult tasks, I don't go in for hopes and dreams. What inspires me is human ingenuity and determination. Our ability to get knocked down and to get up again, over and over again, until we accomplish our goals.
My husband is currently on the battlefield, and actually he's protecting Ukraine over there. And I'm trying to do what I can do here to protect climate as well. In the cities near to the battlefield, they all also are caring for the climate. They're trying to present and implement projects to adapt to climate change, because that gives you as well the feeling of hope that there would be your country to live in. There would be a country after the war. There would be a country amidst climate crisis.
The lady I'm standing with, this picture, is my neighbor Florence in Karakum. In July this year, this was us standing in all that remained of her home after the devastation of Hurricane Beryl. At 85, Florence has become one of the millions of victims of runaway climate change this year alone.
So this COP is known as the Finance COP. We need more money into adaptation, into loss and damage, into mitigation, all of these areas, so that we ourselves can be more resilient nations. I know for Dominica in 2015, we were struck by Tropical Storm Erica, and then 2 years later, we were struck again by Hurricane Maria. And for us, the constant devastation, being in that constant cycle of devastation, it's not sustainable. So for us, meeting those climate finance goals is not a matter of just asking for money, it's a matter of our survival.
Okay, we saw Carl's film there. It was absolutely super. There's going to be a lot more from Carl and his great work during the COP here. And then we're going to end now with a final film. It's called Weather Kids. You may have seen it before, maybe you didn't, but it's something with the United Nations Development Programme with young children, giving the weather forecasts in different parts of the world. And we'll see you tomorrow for many, many other guests. We're looking forward to it. COP29, we don't have time. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Celeste with a very special weather report. From up there to down here, everything is crazy. If we don't listen to scientists, things are going to be even crazier when I grow up. Let's look at the forecast for 2050. Heat waves will affect 94% of children, making playing outside a thing of the past. Extreme droughts will wipe out crops, killing some of my favorite foods to eat. And disasters will cost taxpayers almost $6 trillion. Of course, all of this is caused by a blanket of heat-trapping pollution in the atmosphere that we could just not put up there. But don't worry, there's still a chance of clear skies. Right now, clean energy systems are moving in from the east to the west, creating tons of cool jobs. And solar prices have dropped lower than oil and gas. Going to the satellites, it looks like a high-pressure system of grown-ups could still move in and protect kids from an avalanche of really bad stuff. Some gusty political winds ahead, but they're no match for the power of Hurricane Trinbago. That's where I'm from, my country. We'll keep you posted as we track if adults stop wasting time and fix this totally solvable problem. Because it's not just a weather report to us, it's our future.